One of the most contentious issues in the life of Muhammad is his marriage to Aisha. Well, actually his marriage to Zainab too, and his treatment of slaves and others. Anyways, let's not get into all that. We're here to talk about a specific issue. Muhammad's marriage to Aisha. What age did he get married and all that stuff. Hamza Yusuf shares this interesting little story about the age of Aisha and a discussion he had with a young lady about this very topic. I'm going to be responding to him. Let's see what he has to say.
I had a woman who came to me and she said, we were in Medina, and she just said, I have a really hard time with Aisha's age.
Okay. So he's visibly disturbed that this lady has a problem with child marriage. In particular, he has a problem with the child bride, Aisha. Now, for him as a man, maybe he doesn't understand this, but he should be able to imagine this young lady that's talking to him. I assume it's a young lady, it could be an old lady, that's kind of upset or, troubled by the age of Aisha and the fact that Muhammad was 54 and she was, 6. You can imagine for a woman, she would understand this even more so. Getting married as a child, that means the end of your childhood. It means that you can no longer have time to play with your friends. You may end up being a sort of prisoner in the home. You're now responsible for your husband's happiness. In many cultures, you're responsible to cook and clean. You no longer have the ability to pursue your own desires, needs, dreams. She'll never have the ability to fall in love or be chased by boys. It's all already predetermined for her. A young lady. Her future is now set in stone. Or so it seems. So she can imagine that, how is this an ideal situation? I might end up pregnant, then I have babies to take care of. What kind of life is this? It's definitely not ideal to be married off at such a young age, especially for the woman. Even though he's a man, he should be able to understand this. It's not that hard. It's not something you should be upset over because someone is wondering about this. You should be like, yeah, I understand why you think that way. But just wait. He's going to let his mask slip. Just wait and see what he says.
I told her, I said, listen, first of all, there's debate about her age.
Okay, problem solved. We'll just throw out all of the hadith in Sahih Bukhari that Aisha herself narrated that she was 6 years old, she was playing with dolls, and then she got married to Muhammad. Problem solved.
And I said, but the important thing about Aisha, if Aisha was an insignificant person in the history of Islam, then we would certainly have to question what the wisdom was.
Oh, now the mask slips. The crying and everything was just a show, it seems. Even now, Hamza Yusuf, you are admitting that if it wasn't for the fact that she played a role, she fulfilled her duty, she did her job, we would question this. Now you're admitting that we have to question the wisdom of marrying a child. For a 54-year-old man to marry a child, you're admitting that this is either immoral or at least morally ambiguous. Well, thank you. Thank you for admitting it, even if you didn't say so in so many words.
If Aisha was an insignificant person in the history of Islam, then we would certainly have to question what the wisdom was. But the fact that she carried so much of the religion,
She carried so much of the religion. Didn't you just say there's doubt about her age? You just said we don't take those hadith at face value. So how can you take any hadith that she says at face value if you don't want to accept that hadith? So what you're saying is, we don't trust the hadith that says she was 6 years old, but we're so grateful that she gave us a bunch of other hadith that she memorized from her husband. A lot of tidbits about his life. Really. Like the fact that they both took a bath from the same vessel, from the same bathtub. Okay, that's really valuable knowledge to have, isn't it? Okay, sure. So you have a problem there. On one hand, you're saying, well, she wasn't actually 6 when she got married. Maybe she was 12 or 18 or whatever. But then on the other hand, you're saying, well, because she was so young, she carried much of the religion, and many hadith were actually narrated by her. At the same time, you're saying you can't trust those hadith, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. Make up your mind, which one is it? If the hadith is of low value that was narrated by her saying her age, then why would you even value the other hadith that she came up with? I wouldn't change my life and depend on the statements of a 10-year-old or a 6-year-old if they said, oh, this so-and-so person said this. Am I just going to take the word at face value? Here you have Muslims basing their entire life according to a statements of a young lady, a young child. You're going to live your life based on what a young lady who played with toys told you? You're going to go based on these things? Yet at the same time, you don't trust the hadith where she says her own age? This is kind of strange.
It's undeniable that Allah chose her.
Allah chose her? Or Muhammad chose her? Muhammad is the one that had a dream about her. He probably saw his friend's young daughter, had the feels for her, and then guess what? Had a dream about her, and then told his friend, I want your daughter. If it was Allah who chose her, couldn't Allah have delayed this until she was physically and sexually mature? So there would be no moral ambiguity about this situation. 1,000 years later, when people start to realize that children can't give consent. That's why pedophilia is a crime, because children are vulnerable, and we all know this. Nobody would leave the child alone with an older man in this, like in the situation that what we're saying here. There's no consent here. You can't say that she consented to this. She was just a child. This is why the age of drinking, the age of sexual maturity is set at 18 to 21 nowadays, right? Because if you're below that, well, you might make some decisions that are not in your best interest, and you may not really understand what you're getting into.
To be in that position, whether she was 12 or 16 or 18, there's different narrations.
There's different narrations. That she's 12 or 16 or 18? Can you please share those narrations with me? I've never heard these narrations. Who narrated them? I bet it wasn't Aisha. She said she was 6.
That wasn't a problem for Irving Washington, who wrote a biography of the Prophet, which is not very flattering, by the way. But when he got to that section, he just said Arabian women were known to be very precocious. They matured early, so this was not uncommon. It didn't bother him in 19th century America, early 19th century America.
So because Mr. Irving Washington didn't have a problem in early 19th century America with a 53-year-old or 54-year-old man marrying a 6-year-old from pre-Islamic Arabia, that means it's okay now? I don't think so. If he was okay with it, it's still wrong, okay? It's definitely wrong. Whether or not your friend Irving Washington liked it or agreed with it or excused it, no. It's definitely not excusable for someone that's supposed to be the moral arbiter, the moral example for all of mankind. Definitely not okay.
But today it's very bothersome. But anyway, so I gave her, the best I could do.
There you have it. You gave her the best you could do. Isn't it strange that you have to justify and defend and make sense of Muhammad's immoral or morally ambiguous actions? Wouldn't it be better if you had a man that didn't engage in such acts? Then you wouldn't have to explain it. It'd be clear.
So I think about a week later, we were in Medina, because we were in Mecca when she brought up the question to me. She came to me and she had tears.
Uh-oh, here come the crocodile tears again.
And I said, well, what's the matter? She said, no, I just wanted to let you know, I feel so at ease. She said, I've been so troubled about this. And she said, the Prophet ﷺ came to me in a dream last night, and he explained to me why he did that. And he said Abu Bakr was honored by becoming his father-in-law, because Abu Bakr's maqam was so high with Allah.
Abu Bakr could still have been honored by Allah if Muhammad kept his in his pants for a few more years instead of jumping on her at such a young age. Why is it that everything has to be about Muhammad? Why is it that people don't see the personality cult that's right in front of their eyes. Everything that befits Muhammad raises the maqam and the level of the people around him. By giving their daughters away to this man, the maqam, the status is raised with Allah. Nope, not a cult leader. Not at all.
And she had that in a dream, but she was totally, her heart was just set at ease. I just thought, subhanAllah, what a gift to be troubled by something and the Prophet comes to you himself to ease your heart.
The funny thing is, there's a hadith that says that shaitan cannot impersonate Muhammad in a dream. So if Muhammad comes to you in a dream, that means you actually saw Muhammad. Now the funny thing is, whoever made up this hadith or whether the Prophet said it caused problems, because then the scholars had to start making disclaimers and adding conditions saying, well, Muhammad wouldn't come to you in a dream in order to counsel Sharia, because you had examples of kids telling their parents, well, Muhammad came to me and said I don't have to pray anymore or fast, and the parents were like, what do I do? Shaitan can't impersonate him. So scholars are like, oh, maybe that wasn't Muhammad, that was someone else. But then what does it mean to say Shaitan can't impersonate Muhammad? They thought it was Muhammad, and Muhammad's saying, you are free, you don't have to do these things anymore. Okay, so there you have it. Muhammad comes to people in their dreams.
From ikhlas, which means that it doesn't mean that you can't question things. Our religion has never shied away from questions.
Did I hear that correctly? Our religion welcomes questioning? No, it doesn't. Naughty, naughty. No, it doesn't.
But question them with a desire to know the truth, not a desire to challenge the truth.
What does that even mean? You just said a religion welcomes questioning. Now you're backtracking and saying, no, actually, not a desire to challenge the truth. So what you're saying is, your religion expects people to be presuppositionalists, just like Abu Bakr was, and just accept that this man is a prophet, and then they can't question that, but they can make questions, but they can't make questions that will lead them away from that presuppositionalist conclusion that they already came up with, that Islam is true. Well, that's not what you call welcoming questioning. No, it's not. That's called making people blind followers, Hamza Yusuf. Thanks for watching. Please check out my Patreon, and if you can support me, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, that's okay. Thank you so much to everyone that is supporting me and helping me to continue making these videos. For those of you who are new here, please subscribe and don't forget to drop a like. Leave me a comment if you have a suggestion on what video you want me to respond to next. Let me know. I'm going to be checking the comments, and I'm going to try to respond to the next video very soon. Also, thank you to the fellow who mentioned to me this video to respond to. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name, so I won't. But thank you. You know where you are. This is Abdullah Samir signing out.